All right, welcome everybody to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks. We are your hosts, Jim Hobbs, and to my left, right, up, down is Brian Damaged Forsythe of Kix. And Brian, I'm going to let you introduce our guest tonight since I will be meeting him for the first time along with everybody else this evening. So why don't you go ahead and introduce our special guest?
Yeah, this is my friend Steve Olivas. I initially did his podcast, and then he contacted me about possibly doing a book. So him and I have been working on a book, which I don't know when it's going to be done, but we're working on it.
Hopefully it's going to be done by August.
I hope.
Boy, I do too, but all right. Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm interested in being here. I've been watching your show, and I think this is a cool format and some good information you guys get out to everybody.
Well, glad to have you, Steve. So tell the people a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about this book that you guys are putting together.
Well, I'm not sure how much Brian wants to talk about, so I will turn that part over to him if he wants to. I will give you my background, and maybe that'll take the heat off Mr. Forsythe. But I'm originally from Wisconsin, grew up in farm country, and second generation American, everyone off the boat from different countries. For the purposes of this kind of podcast, I've got Italian, Mediterranean in me, and so I have been no stranger to being able to put on weight, which has been both a blessing and a curse because I build muscle pretty well, which works for guys when they're younger, but then you get a little older and start snacking, and weight finds me. So I've gone up and down quite a bit in my life, and I can thank my Italian grandma for that. But moved around a little bit, settled in Nashville because I knew one day I would meet Brian Forsythe and my life would change. And here I am on Keto Rocks. Holy cow.
Wow. Well, that's why most people move this. That's why most people move to Nashville. Yeah. They follow Brian to get to meet Brian. So that's awesome. Brian's shaking his head.
He knows. He's got
they got a picture of his mug on the Welcome to Nashville billboard sign.
Yes. And they got Jim Hobbs on the Welcome to Maryland sign. So it all kind of balances out.
Well, awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about your I guess your lifestyle with keto, or your I don't know if I don't even know your story, so I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
I know. Actually, Brian did sort of change my life, and he will again between now and August from the sound of things. But so I was a marathon runner when I was in my early 30s, we'll call it, probably late 20s too, but early 30s. I weighed 185 pounds. I was all muscle, and it was not good for my body to run marathons because I was heavy for a marathoner. I don't have the body type to be a marathon runner. Your friend Brian Forsythe has the body for running marathons. But I'm built probably a little like you, Jim. I've only seen you from the chest up every time we watch this podcast, but I'm guessing you and I share some genetic material in common. So I was running marathons, and I could eat anything. Now, plus I'm 31 years old, so my metabolism hadn't quite shifted over into old man stages yet, but I sort of felt invincible from like a diet standpoint, and I didn't pay much attention to what I ate because I was burning everything off. So fast forward to 35, and the first kind of hit, and I was like, ooh, that's not cool. But I figured I'll just run it off, except then kids came around, and I don't know if you got kids, Jim, but that changes a man's lifestyle a little bit too. So it just kept going and getting worse. And so I would diet and lose a bunch and then gain it all back. What I'm trying to set up here, which I'll get back to in a second, is I never figured out how to maintain my weight. I was either losing or gaining, and that was sort of a problem. So fast forward to the 4th of July, and I weighed like more than I'd ever weighed before. And I'm roughly Brian's height. I don't know your history with Brian, if you guys are friends in real life or not, but Brian's not that tall of a guy, and I'm not that tall of a guy. I weighed 277. So I could have either played like strong side tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, or I could have figured out how to go on a diet because I lost all my muscle and everything. It was bad. So the 4th of July, I thought, okay, I'm going to lose 5 pounds a month for a year. That'll get me down to 217. And it'll sort of teach my body to maintain and kind of hover. I don't want to lose too quick. Well, the problem with that strategy is I couldn't figure out how to lose, like, period. So I was just struggling along July, August, September, lost a little bit, gained a little bit, tried to convince myself this was normal. But then I had lunch with Damage. And for him, it changed his life because he met the second coolest guy in Nashville. But for me, we kind of stumbled upon this whole keto thing almost by accident because I made a comment about how weird Brian was about ordering his lunch. And like we had this thing with the waitress because she's like, do you want, we went to Outback Steakhouse. He ordered a steak and a side of bacon. And then because he got 2 sides, he got another side of bacon. And so the waitress is like in vapor lock over this. She couldn't figure out what animal is in front of me here. Like, am I attracted to this guy? He dresses like a rock star. He looks like he's 37 years old, even though he's like 42. But so she actually brought us mac and cheese because she was thinking this poor guy is deranged and he doesn't know what he wants. And Brian said, and I will never forget this, Jim, he sort of pushed the mac and cheese toward me and he said, do you want this? And I said, no. And he said, because I'm not going to eat it. And I said, well, you don't like mac and cheese? He said, no, I eat kind of weird. And he sort of told me the story. So I took it all in, because I pay attention to guys that know more than me. I'm not part of this generation that's like, you can't tell me what to do, man. Like, I'm always open to different ideas and ways of doing things. I don't know everything. So that day I ate like Brian because I didn't want to look weird, like putting my face in the middle of that succulent mac and cheese and just sucking it all in like Jello. So I had a steak and a salad, and Brian doesn't even eat salad. And I'm like, all right, now you've gone a bridge too far. But I took that home with me. So at the time, I think, Brian, this was right around Halloween. And I did not lose much off of my 277-pound perch. And Brian and I spent like almost every day together for the next 2 months. And I lost, I think, 20 or 25 pounds just in that time. But I'll bet he didn't even notice because it did kind of come off slow. And now I'm down 40 pounds in just this few months. And I mentioned that to my wife and she said, really? Which I can't tell if that's an insult or not. It's sort of like the old Jim Gaffigan joke where he says, I don't tell people I've lost weight because I know they're thinking, but you're still fat. The thing of it is, I have to slow myself down from weight loss because Brian even said this to me one day, because I mentioned to him when I was down like 20 or 25, he said, yeah, it'll fall right off you. That is absolutely true. And I don't feel lethargic. I'm sleeping better. I can actually cut my toenails without feeling like I need back surgery afterwards. Like there is sort of an upside insofar as I don't feel depleted or diminished, even though I do have some carbs. I mentioned to Brian in the text to set this up, I do kind of a modified keto just because I don't want to lose too fast. I do want to teach my body to maintain because I don't want to get down to I don't even have a real goal, but I don't want to get down to say 217 and then just like bounce back up again. I don't know if it'll be possible eating keto, but I do eat some carbs. I have dates, the fruit, just to get some sweet, get a little fiber in the diet. And then the great equalizer that I've found is if I start losing weight too fast, I'll have a handful of cashews at night, and that'll sort of stabilize me. And I'm back to 5 pounds a month, and I'm satisfied with that. But long story short, too late for that noise. But the keto has been the thing that I've been missing my whole life because I have not been able to balance diet and exercise. And I remember hearing somebody say you can't run from a bad diet, meaning it doesn't matter how much you exercise. If you're eating garbage, your body's going to react to it. And I could never find that magic bullet. And Brian Forsythe gave it to me. And I don't know if he even knows how I sing his praises to other people, not in front of his face. He gets a little bit, hubris when you do that. But it really has been a game changer for me, Jim.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Brian, as Steve was sharing his story, you need to cut a song, especially being in Nashville. You need to redo the song and say, keto makes my clothes fall off. You need to do keto makes my clothes fall off.
We might want to work that out a little bit ahead of time, Jim. But yeah, keto makes my clothes fall off.
But Steve, I'm 6'2", and I was an athlete. I rode in high school and college, and then I became a coach for crew, and rode and because you're always running 5 miles and then rowing 8 miles, 10 miles, you can eat pretty much anything you want. But of course, in college you're doing more than eating. You're drinking, you're partying.
What?
And then like you, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, what's this bulge around here all of a sudden that showed up? It's like I'm pregnant all of a sudden. And then then you get married, and then you're like, hey, all bets are off, and you're just going out eating, and you got kids, and I got 3 kids and an 8-year-old grandson. So same thing happened to me, just so you know. So next thing you know, I'm at 297. I remember I have a company, and I was in the warehouse, and I got on the warehouse scale, and I never forget, I got on it just to see what I weighed. And in my mind, I was always 185, and I get on the scale and it said 265. And I'm like, what? Because like your wife, I didn't notice myself, it got to be the size of a football player. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm 265. I came home to my wife and said, I'm 265. And she goes, yeah. I go, I'm huge. And so, but like you, I tried different things. You can't outrun a bad diet. And we finally got on. A friend of mine, we were playing golf. I'll tell you exactly how I got into keto. We're at the golf course, we're playing keto, and much like your dinner with Brian at Outback, we were sitting at the clubhouse, and my buddy ordered 2 bacon and cheese biscuits, but to hold the bread. No, he didn't hold the bread. They bring him out. He took the bread. He put the bread at the side. He said, hey, you want my biscuits? And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to eat them? He's like, no. I go, sure. And he's like, yeah, I'm on this diet. I said, diet? He goes, yeah, I just eat eggs and bacon, and no bread. I'm like, that sounds crazy. He goes, yeah, it's called Atkins. And I'm like, I'll have to look into that. Because he started losing weight. So Atkins, I did lose weight. My wife and I got into it. But like you, I had a number in my mind. And once I hit that number, which is our ego, our mind, like we want to celebrate and go back to the exact same thing we worked our way to get away from. We want to celebrate by eating all the bad food. So, I'm like, I'm going to go to TJ Cinnamons and have a nice cinnamon roll. I'm going to, celebrate my weight loss by eating the exact same food group that got me here. But after the 3rd time of going up and down that roller coaster, my wife and I said, look, we're going to go keto, and we're going to stay keto. We're more carnivore now. Brian has really helped us to realize that carnivore is it. And so is our bodies. Both of our bodies, my wife and our body, has a tendency to react negatively to a lot of the vegetables that I used to eat. So I limit those as much as I can. So yeah, our stories is very much the same. And
the thing about the up and down, Jim, is the up keeps getting higher every time you go back up. Because you mentioned you were 265 when you stepped on the truck scale,
right?
But you ended up at 297. It's like, God dang, that's a big gap.
No, it is, because once you get off and once you get down, you start to celebrate it, and then you're like, oh, the hell with it, and you just go with it. And you're going out, give me the, you're eating at one of the restaurants that gives you all you can eat fries. Yeah, bring another batch out here and let me dip them in the ketchup.
Thin now. Yes.
And of course my food is going, yes, this is the way to live. I feel great. Woo! But as soon as I get home, I barely walk out to the car. I'm laying in bed going, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. And it's never fun. But truthfully, going keto carnivore is to me the only way to live. I mean, it's the lifestyle. I haven't gone off of that reservation in over 3 years. Don't plan to go off the reservation. And so kudos for you for being one of the people who observed what Brian's doing actually at a restaurant and to mimic him and the positive results.
Well,
that
Jim,
you're achieving.
He's a rock star. I mean, what am I going to do? Who am I?
Well, he's a keto carnivore star. He's more of a keto carnivore star than I think he is a rock star. Not that he's not a rock star, but I think he's helped impact. What I mean by that, he's impacted more people by his diet. Music's great
in the nicest way possible, Brian.
I'm saying music is great, and I'm a huge Kix fan, a huge Brian fan. But what I'm also saying is his lifestyle that he lived is impacting more people than the music that he played.
He's got a lot of fans, Jim, but I won't take your point away from you. He has been the magic man in my life. And not just for the song Cold Blood, which is still one of my favorite songs ever, ever, ever.
So Brian, go ahead. You got something to say. Go ahead. Shaking the finger. Go ahead.
I do have a question.
I forgot you were there, Brian, but yeah, go ahead.
So Steve, you talk about your goal weight that you want to get down to. Have you ever thought about just sort of leaving that open to see how far down you would get?
There is a reason for the 217. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that. Yeah, the 217 is the lowest I've been since my son was born 17 years ago. And it happened to work out perfectly that it is 60 pounds, which is 12 times 5. So in 1 year, I figure I'll hit 217. That's the lowest I've ever been. So the day after that, I'll be like 216.6. And that will be my new record, and then my new record, and then my new record. I don't technically have a number in mind. I would love if I could get down to 200, but I don't think. I was 185 in shape at 31. Your body just kind of changes when you get older. Your butt gets a little bigger, your thighs a little bigger. So 200 might be about the best I can do given my circumstances.
You might surprise yourself, because I know, like, I didn't have a whole lot of weight to lose when I got into this whole thing, but I dropped at least 10 pounds lighter than more than 10, probably 12 pounds. From when, back when I was working at that pet clinic and just eating whatever, like all the crap that was in the lounge that the clients would bring us. But I kind of had a goal weight, and when I got on this, I surpassed that by like 4 pounds, and then just sort of leveled off. And like you're saying, maintaining a weight. I just kept on eating like I eat, and it just stayed there, just steady. And that's why I was wondering, because I hadn't planned on going down lower than my goal, but now I've kind of drifted back up, so I'm back up sort of around my goal, a little bit higher. But it stays within like 6 or 7 pounds.
Do you do anything differently from the 0 to 6? Did that make sense? Like, can you tell, do you do something that makes you drop 6 or gain 6, or is it just part of the rhythm of salt or whatever?
I think what happened was when I got down, like the lowest weight that I was maintaining was around 128, and but I
that's with his boot. That's with his boots on, Steve.
Jeez.
No,
don't get him wet.
But I went through this period where I was starting to feel like lethargic, and it was like it didn't seem to be working like it was, and I was having problems with my workouts, like just struggling to get through. So I had to up my intake, so I just started eating more, and I think what I've put on now is muscle. It is a result of eating more meat and maintaining my workouts. But it really helped when I started eating more. It like when I initially went to carnivore, I had this big boost in energy, and my workouts went into overdrive, and that went like that for like a while, and then I had that drop, and I had to up my food intake, and it kicked it right back in again. So I think that's what that was.
Okay. Well, and Jim, I know right around Thanksgiving, you said in one of these podcasts that you were starting to edge up weight-wise again. Did you make an adjustment from that?
No. Matter of fact, it's weird, Brian. I talk about this on the air and off the air. I'm back like you. I had a goal set. I had a goal set to be 205 was between 200 and 205, And once I got down to that goal, I realized that, I could literally lose some more weight. I could still see some fat on me. Like I still have fat. So I was like, I'm just like Brian said, I said, I'm just going to eat and let the lifestyle level me where I'm supposed to be. My body will adjust. So I just kept doing the same thing and my body went down to 189. I felt great at 189.
Wow.
I mean, 189. And then it's been the last, I guess, 3 months or so. It's just creeped back up. I'm back like 200, and I really nothing's changed. So I don't know whether or not it could be muscle. It could be just I drink more water. I have no idea what it is, but nothing's really changed. And maybe because I'm not more active as I used to be is the only thing that I could see that may be impacting my weight going up. But yeah, I mean, once spring, summer gets here, I'm out in the boat, water fishing and jet skiing and all that stuff. So,
all right, very good.
So, Steve, what type of work do you do? And do you still run marathons? Do you still run at all?
Oh gosh, no. I haven't even run a fever in a long time. Like it wears me out thinking about it. No, I'm a shrink in real life, and my hope is to eventually transition into just doing books for guys like Brian. I need to build up some volume to get a tail kind of developed, but I'm working on another one now, and I've got the next 2 lined up already. So the rock stars tend to be pretty open to this concept, especially. I'm not going to give away Brian's age, but Jim, you and I are men of a certain age. And as we get older, we look back and think, I want to leave some footprints here. And so everyone's sitting around doing nothing right now, too. So that's the part that I'm not factoring in when everyone hits the road again. But I think rock stars are looking at this as here's another way. It's like putting an album out. It's another way to make money, reach out to my fans, have some interactions, and have some fun doing it. So if I can be that conduit and take a little taste off the top, I think that's a great way to make a living. I love meeting these guys.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading this book, and I know we're doing a keto retreat in August, and hopefully we'll have the book done by then, and everybody will get a copy of the book. But Brian's got a ton of stories to share, so I know you're hearing it from the horse's mouth, and he's got a lot of comical stories. I don't know where he shared all his stories, but there's some really good ones.
I'm just curious, Brian, if Jim knows why the book is not moving forward more quickly right now.
Well, I have to work. Actually, I worked on it today. So it's sitting right there. It's within arm's reach.
All right.
I'm getting through it slowly, but it's just like steadily. So
okay. Yeah, once you get that back to me. So Brian's got the second half of the book that he's working on right now. And when he gets his edits back to me, I will incorporate them, get the full manuscript back to him, and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I still got to get the photos.
The pictures. You got to get the pictures. You got to still get the pictures, don't you, Brian?
Yeah, I have. I think I told you, right, Steve? I went through the band stuff that I have here. But I don't have my childhood pictures. They're all at my sister's house. So
there's got to be some gems in there. Did you? Sorry, Jim. I'm going to have a little sidebar with Brian.
Oh, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Did you get your records hung up on the wall, Brian?
Nope.
Oh, Brian. Forsythe.
Hang on a second.
He's going to do it right now.
Oh,
he's going to do it right now.
This friend of mine, just a friend. That I know from LA, he moved to Portland right around the same time I moved here to Nashville, but we keep in touch. So we kind of been doing this morning like tag thing where it's like kind of like action buddies. And he suggested I make a master like to-do list just to get it out of my head because I don't make I'm terrible about making lists. So I made a list and the pictures are on there, the book's on there, like everything that I need to do is on that list now. So
or you could just start doing stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, that's just me talking out of my face.
So when do you think the book will be completed, Steve?
Well, so here's the deal, Jim. And by the way, let me say something about your co-host before I rip him here. Brian, I don't know how well you know him in real life, but he is exactly the same in real life as on camera. He is the nicest, great sense of humor, just one of the, cover your ears, Brian. He's one of the sweetest guys you have ever met in real life, and that's just him. He is the real deal. So this is not something he turns on and off. Makes him an easy target to mess with him too. But he really is one of the nicest, just most centered people I've ever met, and I always appreciate being friends with him. Having said that, Jim, the book requires a lot of Mr. Forsythe at this point, and so I don't feel completely in control of when the book's going to be done, because it all depends on the schedule of one Mr. Damage. And I know he's got a lot on that list. For example, number one, make a list. I'm sure that's on your list, Brian, if I know you as well as I think I do. And then at the bottom of the list is complete the list. Like, anyway, it's going to be circular and it's going to take him a bit. But as soon as he gets it to me, I work pretty quickly. And I think we can move this thing along fast. The pictures is sort of an extraneous variable because that requires some travel and getting with his sister. But anyway, I'm hoping to get it out in Q2. But we'll see. It depends on how well Brian can complete this hurdle.
Well, I have faith that he'll get it done by 2022.
Jim, I will say this. This is one of the favorite things I've ever written, because Brian, cover your ears, I'm going to compliment you again, Brian. Brian is a remarkably, for as much as I complain about his methodical lifestyle, he really is supremely organized as a human being. And
OCD.
Yeah, probably.
He's borderline, yeah.
It leans into that area. But so for him to tell his story, and you said he's got a bunch of stories, and it's like he's told these stories 1,000 times before, which he might have, because he has been on literally every podcast that has ever been created. But he will tell stories front to back and middle, and it is so delightful to work with someone whose brain is organized with this stuff, because he makes it simple for me to just put it out onto the paper and give it back to him. So as long as he can sort of get out of his own way, this thing is going to move, and it's going to be a really, really good read for the fans. It's fantastic.
Well, you know, he weighs 126 pounds because he has no ego.
Sure, that's right. The ego's 123. Yeah. No, Brian doesn't have an ego. That's the thing about him.
No, that's what I said. That's why he weighs so less.
Oh my God! That's why you and I are up around 3 bills, Jim.
Yeah, he'd be, if he was a rock star with the ego, he'd be pushing over 200. You know, the fact he's 123, 126 is because he doesn't carry that around with him.
I don't know. Whiteman's a pretty thin guy too, right?
He's pretty, yeah, he's pretty thin.
I'm guessing he's got a bit of an ego in his back pocket.
Well, you know, lead singers, they need a little bit of
absolutely.
So Steve, so tell me, so this transition, so what got you to go, you know, one day you wake up and go, I'm going to start writing books for rock stars. I mean, how do you get there?
It was panic, Jim. So when the pandemic hit, now I make my living on the road too. I'm a shrink, but that was maybe 20%. 70% of my income came from public speaking and going. I worked for 3 companies, public speaking companies, 2 in the US and 1 in Canada. And when the pandemic hit and that shut down, I was pooping my pants thinking, how are we going to pay the mortgage? Which fortunately the banks all delayed that for a while. But the point is, I started trying to figure out, how can I monetize my podcast? Which the answer is you can't, even if you have a rock star on your podcast. So I reached out to the most famous guy who had been on my podcast and said, would you like to do a book? And I remember where I was sitting when I wrote the text to pitch my book. And we were in a sushi place here near our house. Brian would know where it is, but you don't know where it is. So anyway, I was in the sushi place. And I sent it to him, and my wife and I were sitting there, and I was like chewing my nails, wondering how is this going to go over. I think, Brian, do you know who I'm talking about?
I think so. I'm assuming.
Okay, I think you're right. I think we talked about it, and he likes me. He's another nice guy, and he called me the next day, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, I got these things going on, and I've got this other guy who has already pitched me, and I think we're talking to him about having him write my book. He's written a bunch of these. He's in with these publishers, and he said, but he wants like 60 grand up front. What do you want? And I thought, holy crap, that's what it costs to make a book nowadays? I said, I don't want anything up front. I'll just take a back end deal from you. We'll just work out. I'll take part of the profit and you keep the rest. And he was like, really? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, let's do it. So we started doing it. And I thought, this is actually a decent business model because I assume all the risk. If the book does nothing, then I've put 100 hours into it and have wasted all that time. From Brian's perspective, it cost him, we met maybe 20 times for a couple hours. Like he had to drive down to my office, which he did not enjoy. But the point is that he said yes, and we started. And then Brian sort of came out of nowhere because we had that lunch at Outback, and I wasn't even thinking about writing another book. My mind wasn't working that way. Well, that's not true. I had another guy kind of in mind, but then Brian started telling me his story, and I thought, wow, this is so much more interesting than this is like one of my clients' kind of stories. And Brian is remarkably honest, both in a way that will benefit him and a way that might irritate some of the people in his background. But we'll talk about that when the book comes out. But the point is, his story was so compelling, I thought, I got to do this. If this book makes nothing, I will have so much fun doing it. It'll be worth it for me. And when that happened, another guy has talked to me a couple times and wants to put off the book. The guy I'm working with right now, it's a different kind of book. And then I guess I can say her name. Brian knows this one too, because I told him. But one of the girls from Vixen, I'm writing her book, and we've already signed a contract. Like she's ready to go. So it seems like nobody's ever said no to me is the point. And so I might not be great, but I'm the best they can do for free, Jim.
Well, that's awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to reading the book.
Brian, I will say again, I'm not tooting my horn, I'm tooting his. It's a darn good book. As biographies go, it's really good.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Brian, are you stressed out yet?
Stressed?
Yeah. Are you stressed out knowing that all this is now people are now going to expect it? Are you stressed out?
Nah, maybe a little.
Well,
Brian
Steve,
is impervious to stress.
Well, I definitely hope that you can come back on later on and let us know if you hit your goal, or if you can join us for our keto retreat that we're doing in August. I'm sure Brian has shared with you, or you've seen on our podcast.
Brian doesn't tell me nothing. Are you kidding? Once we were done with the interviews, he's like, I don't even know you, man. Took my number out of his phone, blocked me on Facebook. Man. I sent flowers, Jim. I sent a gorillagram. Like, I'm trying to hold out the olive branch, but no, he went all rock star diva on me.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that guilt of not getting that stuff done.
Well, Brian has only recently begun liking my things on Facebook again because we talked about the book, and I think that relieved him of some of the tension of not working on it for a while. Because you disappeared on me for a while, Brian.
No, I think you disappeared out of my news feed. Is what happened.
Oh, well, we're back, baby.
I've got so many friends. It's like, I only get a few of them on the news feed at a time.
Huh,
So you must have dropped off there for a minute.
I dropped off for a minute. I understand.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the answer.
After all the smoky pictures that I liked and all the brisket pictures that I liked, this is the thanks I get. Jim, it'll happen to you one day. Just be ready.
I know. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Brian, you got any more questions? Anything else you want to share? What's happening with you? What cooking projects you got going on?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I'm just,
Well, I'll ask Steve. Steve, what cooking projects do you got going on?
Jim, I'm so glad you asked.
There you go.
None?
I feel like we're in the Brady Bunch here with all of our squares.
I know. I've just been sort of, I don't have any big projects myself. Just this daily steak. on the grill.
Hey, Brian, are you able to handle a 17-pound brisket in your smoker?
Yeah. The last one I did was 17 pounds.
How long did you cook it?
Uh, I don't, offhand, I don't remember how long it took. It was an all day thing. I mean, I got up early and threw it on there. And then at
Huh.
some point I wrapped it and put it back on there.
Would you let me use your smoker for a chunk of meat? I'll give you
Sure.
some brisket.
I still have some left from, when was that? In October. I still have some. Well, I just pulled it out of the
Wow.
freezer. That's what I'm gonna eat tomorrow.
Oh, all right. I was thinking you
But
don't
yeah,
eat very much, do you?
I mean that was one of the things coming down to see you. I used to go over there to Costco because it's right across there. So yeah, that's where I got it. The big 17-pound brisket from Costco, and I have another one in my freezer downstairs too, waiting.
So
But
Steve, do you got a 17-pound brisket that you're just looking for a home? Is that what you adopted, a 17-pound brisket?
I didn't realize they were so hard to cook. And I figured, well, you just stick it in the oven, you make it medium rare, and then people on Facebook are blowing me up for being dumb. And Jim, you know how we hate looking dumb on Facebook. But
yeah,
it's like, oh, well, I need somewhere to cook this thing, or else I have to like divvy it up and cook it little by little. But if,
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
yeah.
you
If
don't.
he's got the monster smoker,
Yeah, you don't want it medium rare either. A brisket has to be, the internal temperature has to hit at least 203 degrees. So
see, I heard 205, but Brian, I'm not going to split hairs with you.
well, at least 203, but
Oh, all right. All right.
somewhere in that range.
All right. The fact that you haven't answered my question says you don't
Oh,
want me
no.
to cook my brisket in your smoker, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm on the Jim Hobbs list now. I understand.
No, actually, you can if you want. You're. It's
It's gonna be a whole different story once
Just
we
write it
stop
in your
this.
Just write it in your contract, Steve. Negotiate it, put it in there, say, in exchange
Brian's
for
the
me
only person I know with a smoker that big. That's why I thought, ooh, this will be
Now,
perfect.
see,
I just
yeah,
bought
the Traeger that I got, I can't put a 17-pound brisket. I don't think I can, but he's got the Iron Horse, the whatever, which one he's got. He can put a horse in that thing.
the Vulcan 3000.
I could
Yes.
stick two 17-pound briskets in my smoker.
There you go.
I mean, I have two shelves, but I could put two of those in there with no problem. And
I got one shelf. See, now I'm feeling just like less than.
Yeah.
I have one
Shelf
shelf.
envy.
I don't even think I can put 17. It's crazy.
No.
I'm just.
No. Jim, he's a rock star.
Yes, he is. I'm about. Well, anyway, hey, while we're on talking about rock stars and all that, I do want to talk about deadlines. We've been talking about this Keto Rocks Retreat. We have the dates nailed down, August 6th through 8th. So in the show notes, there will be the link that you can go to be able to register. It's going to be limited to a very small group because we want this to be a hands-on, intimate experience where we're literally learning and hearing each other's story and get to know each other. And your background, how you got led to keto carnivore, what you can learn, and we can share recipes. So August 6th through 8th at Colonial Beach, Virginia. And the link is at the bottom. So be willing to just go down into the show notes, click it on. It's first come, first serve. And it's going to be a great Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. We got music. We got a few surprises. Maybe Brian will play his new song, Keto Made My Clothes Fall Off. And and Steve, you're welcome to show up with a 17-pound brisket. That would be perfect.
It's going to be raw, Jim. Brian doesn't want me near his house. Come on.
No, I didn't say that. No, you're actually welcome to bring your brisket by here.
Did you hear that? You're welcome to bring their brisket. You drop the brisket off. Just go back home.
Put it on the porch and back away slowly.
I'll even give you a brisket lesson while you're here if you want.
All right.
All right. Hey, there you go. Film it so we can put it on the segment. That'd be awesome. Seriously. You guys film doing the 17-pound brisket.
I like it.
I probably have a video of that somewhere.
Oh, all right. Never mind.
But we can do it.
No, you ruined
I'll do a new one of me teaching you.
A tutorial.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Steve, thank you so much for taking time out of your life and coming and join us. You're welcome back anytime. It's been a blast to have you on.
I had fun with you guys too. Thank you for inviting
and
me.
you know, as long as you don't have an NDA with some of your other clients that you're writing book for, come on and share a little bit of dirt on them so we can you know, get them to show up from time to time too. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome. That's what you're doing.
Get people
awesome.
even more famous than Brian Forsythe?
No, you're not going to find them any better than Brian. That's
sure. That is a very true statement.
In all seriousness, you're not going to find them any better than Brian. So, Brian, you want to sign us off, Brian? I know you're blushing now, so go ahead and we'll let you sign off.
I know. What do you say to that? Eat your meat. That's pretty much all I've got.
That's it. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. We will see you next Friday. Stay safe, stay well, stay out of the hospital, and we'll see you next Friday.